Hello. Hello, everybody. Let me see if I can fix this camera. That's a little better. Hey, thanks for joining. This is Leo with One Happy Widow. It's been a while since I've done a live session, so I don't even have any notes today. Okay, got a couple of ideas what I want to talk about, but a lot of times I write my little notes to remind me, but I am winging it today. So, I see we've already got some people joining us today. Hopefully, everybody can hear me okay, and my microphone's working and all that good stuff. Um, so I've got a couple of links in the chat already that I put in there just as a reminder. If you are new and this is the first time that you're joining us, or you haven't seen our other videos before, then you would not know about our Facebook group. But I wanted to remind you about our Facebook group for those of you who are finding this video. I've got a link there for you to go ahead and join the group. It does take me about a week or so to get everybody approved because I'm just busy. So I approve in like batch groups. So I've already approved about 10 people today. I think I have about 20 more people that are on the list waiting to be approved now. So just be patient, but make sure you answer all the questions if you join the group. But it's a great place to get support. We've got really nice widows and widowers on our group that even when I'm not able to get in there as often as I would like to, they are awesome at answering questions, lifting people up, just showing love and care and support, especially of our new folks that are coming in and sharing some of their stories with us. Because I know we've gotten a lot of new people in the last couple months. So we've got Barbara. Hello, good to see you too. And Marianne says, glad that you're back. I'm glad to be back too. Sue says hello. Sue, another Sue, two Sues. And then Janet says, we've missed you. Just good to know that you're okay. Yes, I've been around. Just been, you know how the story goes. If you followed me for a while, you know that my job that started back at the end of July has just been like I hit the ground running and basically haven't been able to stop since then. So it's been a rough one, but I've got some updates on that too. So Alita says, so happy to see you. Thank you guys for joining in, and feel free to post in and tell us where you're from and say hello if you'd like to do that. We always like to see, I'll see a lot of the same people, a lot of familiar faces, which is awesome. And then sometimes we see some new faces and new names that come in, and we got people all over the world that like to join us for our live sessions. So that's always nice to know that we're reaching people all over the globe. So that's kind of a cool thing. All right. So I know you guys who have been following me for a while are wanting to know what's going on with my job. The last post that I put on the group, on the Facebook group, was Linda says hello from Northern Indiana. Suzanne says excited to learn about your new job. And yay, Jonice is back. Yes. Okay, so I did post on the Facebook group recently that I've struggled with my job for a while, basically since it started. I got a new teaching job, and so it's the first year that I've been there, this particular school, and it's just the students are rough. The administration is this is a public thing, so I'm like, I don't wanna go on there and, like, really bash. I'm just trying to give some facts and just try to share what my frustrations are. So, I feel like that the administration is, just really, hesitant to take a stand one way or the other. So, they're kind of, like, trying to please everybody, trying to please the teachers a little, trying to please the students a little, trying to please the parents and the public a little, and the government and whoever's over them. And if you try to please everybody, you end up pleasing nobody, right? And so that's kind of where we are in this whole situation. So plus if you follow school at all, or if you have children who are in school, you have seen that the status or the state of our education right now is just a mess. It's just a mess. And it's just really hard for me I teach special ed math at the high school level. So um, there's a lot of disrespect from students, and um, it's, a lot of society's influences, and it's been pretty tough. I get disrespected by teenage people on a daily basis, and that's hard to deal with. Like, I'm pretty good at just taking it, and just taking the upper ground and not losing my cool and not lowering myself to that same level and not giving back the same thing that I'm getting and things like that. I try to remain professional, but honestly, it's I'm a human person, you know what I mean? And I've got feelings and I've got limits and I'm in grief, right? Like I know I'm not in fresh grief. I know it's been a while, but I'm still dealing with kids, my own children who are grieving their dad, and still it's still affecting them. I'm married to a widower and he's dealing with grief too. So there's just a lot of stuff, that kind of comes into play every day, and so it's been kind of wearing me down and wearing me down and wearing me down. And then a few weeks ago, my sister actually texted me and she says, "Well, I think I'm I think I'm finished teaching." She's a teacher also. She's a middle school teacher. And she's like, "Yeah, I just walked off my job." And I was like, "What?" Like I was flabbergasted. And she was real quiet. She wasn't really answering texts, and I didn't want to call her and bother her or whatever. And so it took me a couple days to get the full story. And basically it was just one little thing that had happened that was the straw that broke the camel's back. A kid threw a cracker at her when she turned her back, and she was like, "You know what? That's it. I'm done." And so I thought she had just walked off, like totally walked off and wasn't going to come back. And even at the time, I think her plans, she wasn't really sure what was going on. She broke and she just left. But she did, at least, this is good, tell them she was sick. And then she left. So they had to find somebody to cover. And so I was really worried about her for a while because I knew that she's had a rough time too, on her job. Like I said, just teaching in general has just become really rough. And so, and in my mind, I was like, "Gosh, I'm so glad that I don't have it that bad. Like, I'm so glad I haven't gotten to that point, where I'll just walk off the job." That was probably 2 weeks ago, 2, 3 weeks ago, probably 3 weeks ago. Anyway, so she took a couple days off the rest of that week. She actually went to the hospital and she has an autoimmune disorder, so she's got some health issues going on. And so she just had some blood work done and got a B12 shot to kind of lift her levels up. And, just kind of, I think she just needed a refresher, like to recharge. So she did end up going back, and, she's still there. But, anyway, so this week I've been off the whole week. So this is Sunday. This is the last day of my week-long break. So I do go back to work on Monday. But the week before, right before my break, I had made it all the way through, and then on Friday morning, the same thing happened to me. Like, I just broke. And I've been dealing with a lot of stuff for a really long time, but this was an issue that was a little bit different. And I won't get into all the details, but I have two assistant principals, I have four assistant principals, but there were two of them specifically that were kind of working on an issue that I was in the middle of. And so, since they're both assistant principals, neither one of them outranks the other one, right? But they both outrank me. And so, I have this homeroom class that I'm supposed to take to the library and help them. I'm supposed to be tutoring them for some deficit areas so that we can gather some data and see if they might need extra help. So this it's supposed to be 70 students, and we usually only get about 20 that show up. But anyway, so we've been doing this for several months. But on Fridays, there's a really small group that's supposed to come in. Instead of the 70, there's only supposed to be six. And so, I on Fridays, I had been told by one administrator that I needed to take the students to my classroom on Friday mornings for that 40 minutes. And then I have another administrator that's telling me that I need to go take them to the media center, which is where they are on all the other days. Well, if all 20 of the students come on the list, I'm only supposed to help six, but there's 20 on the list. If all 20 of them come to my room, I only have 15 chairs. I also don't have extra laptops, and they're supposed to do this stuff on the laptop. So if they come to my room, there's not enough seats if they all show up. And they don't have laptops and they're supposed to have their own, but if they don't bring their own, I'm supposed to lend them laptops. I don't have laptops to lend. They have them in the media center. So anyway, this has been going on for many Fridays in a row. So I go to my room with the students and then I get an email from the one administrator that says, "Why are you taking them to their room? I told you to go take them to the media center." So the next, so then I go take them to the media center, or the next Friday I go take them to the media center, and I get, why do you have them here in the media center? I told you to go take them to your room. And every time they ask me what's going on, I'm like, well, the other administrator told me to do the other thing. And then they'll say, well, I'm telling you to do this. So you can see where every Friday, I've got one boss telling me to go here. I've got another boss telling me to go here. No matter what I do, the other boss is either emailing me and copying my direct boss, my supervisor, and my principal, or coming and speaking to me in person and basically, in front of students, belittling me and saying, "Why I told you to do this and I'm in charge of this and why are you defying me?" So it's like I don't know if they have something against each other and they are trying to like pull rank on each other to see who can win. I don't know if they have something against me and they're trying to see if they can just pull me and rip me in half. I don't know. I don't know what the problem is, but for like 4 Fridays in a row, I was getting in trouble every single Friday morning, but it didn't matter where I was. If I was one place, I was getting in trouble by one. If I was in the other place, I was getting in trouble by the other. I finally told my supervisor, "This is contradictory. This is confusing. I'm not sure where I'm supposed to be or why or what the whole process or anything." I told her what was going on. I said, "Look, I need very direct, very clear instructions, and I need it in writing." Like I need it in an email or I need it in a letter. So that way I can pull that up and say, "Hey, this is what they told me to do." Well, that didn't happen. So that last Friday, it was finally like I went to the media center. I got, "Why are you here? You need to take these students to your room." Okay. So I'm going to my room with the students. As I walk past the window, the other administrator sees me walk past the window and then calls my boss and says, "Why is she taking them to her room? I told her to take them to the media center." And I was telling the other teacher, she told me to take them to the media center. Well, I don't care what she said. I'm telling you this. You can see I'm going around in circles, right? But this is what had been going on. No one's helping me. No one's telling me, what the final say of what to do. And so, and of course, the students that I don't normally teach, they're sensing this chaos, right? And these are already students who have behavior problems, who have learning problems, who have, they're probably not the model students in the population, right? Okay, these are kids who already we know are struggling for one reason or another. So they're feeding off of this chaos. So when they finally go somewhere, they're not doing what they're supposed to do. I can't get them in a routine. I can't get them to do what they need to do. They're literally walking out of the classroom without permission. Like I can't physically stop them. They're leaving 4 and 5 at a time to go out in the hallway. So when they go out in the hallway, I lock the door. So if they're going to leave without permission, you're just not going to come back in. Then they bang on the door. I had one student threaten to kill me because I wouldn't let him back in. Another administrator comes up and says, "Oh no, you got to let him in." Well, this one just threatened to kill me. And these 3 have already left 3 times and keep asking to come back in, and they leave without permission. Okay, we'll write them up. We'll call the office. Okay, do you want me to tutor them? Do you want me to write them up, or do you want me to call the office? Because they're leaving and coming back so quickly, and I have to keep answering the door and then try to write them up and then try to call the office and then try to tutor them. Like I can't do all of that at the same time. So what is it that you want me to do? So it was just like it was a perfect storm. And that had happened first thing on Friday morning. And then, so, finally, when I was told to let that student back in and just write him up when he had threatened to kill me, then the other admin came down and she was getting on to me about a lanyard that they were supposed to have to take to the bathroom that I didn't give them. Well, I don't have a lanyard because somebody stole my lanyard 3 months ago, and I told them, and I told several other people I didn't have a lanyard. I needed another one, and they never gave me one, but I was getting in trouble for not having one. Do you see how this chaos keeps going? So I finally just got to that point where I literally was in the hallway, just yelling down the hallway to the administrator, just, "I don't know what to do." "What do you want me to do?" So, and he just was on his phone, like, just looking at his phone like, "I don't know, just write him up, just keep writing him up." Like, he wouldn't even come down there and help me. So, anyway, I started having an anxiety attack, and I haven't had one of those probably in 20, well, I've had one, in like 20 years. And the one that I had was when JP, my husband now, when he wrecked his car and like totaled it. He spun out in the interstate and ran into the side of the interstate divider and totaled his car. And his tire was end up on the top of the car. And like in just a second, I thought, oh my gosh, he could have died. And it made me, it kind of brought PTSD back about Dewey dying. And so I had a panic attack then and I passed out. So, and I've had them before, way back when my kids were babies, but not since then. So I started to have like my anxiety was getting higher. And then I thought, oh gosh, I'm going to hyperventilate and then everybody's going to see me and I'm going to pass out. And that was making me have anxiety because I didn't want to cause a scene. I didn't want everybody to see me. And so I just told my supervisor, I was like, I'm about to have an anxiety attack and I don't have any medicine with me. And I can't. Like I was panicking. And so I just got in my car and drove home. And I was like, you're gonna have to find somebody to cover my classes. I can't do this anymore. So, and she did. She was on my side, but she couldn't really fix it because she's not their boss either. So she's just the boss of the special ed department. So that was what happened on Friday. That was like the straw that broke the camel's back. And that's a lot of the stuff that I posted on Facebook. So I got a lot of feedback from you guys on the group. And several people said, quit, just quit your job, quit your job, quit your job. So, and trust me, it is tempting. Like I've thought about it many times this school year to quit. But just so you know, especially if you're not in the United States, you might not know how the educational system works, or it's a little bit different in other states. But in Georgia, in education, when you take a job in a school, you sign a contract for the school year. So you can break the contract without permission. Like you can just leave and say, I'm out of here. You're breaking your contract. Well, they can sue you for breach of contract for up to $3,000. And they'll just take it out of your last check. They can, and then they can take your teaching certificate. They can take it for anywhere from 10 days up to a whole semester. So you'll get it back, but it's on your record. It's on your permanent record. It's on your certificate. You have a big flag across the top of your certificate that shows that you broke contract. And so, yeah, you could, once you get your certificate back, you could go try to find another job, but every teaching job you're going to try to find, you've got to sign another contract. So if they already know that you've broken contract, then it's not likely they're gonna hire you, and if they do hire you, it's because they're another crappy school with crappy administrators, with crappy, you know, test scores and behavior problems, and basically, it's like the same thing that I'm doing right now. I could probably teach at another school just as bad as the school that I'm teaching at. If I want to try to teach at a better school or get a better position, I can't break contract because I might as well just not come back to education at all because it's not gonna ever get any better for me. So, I don't wanna break contract now and then go to another crappy school and have just as crappy of a job and just start over from scratch because that just wouldn't, that wouldn't help me. And so, they do have the option to let you out of your contract if you ask them, but they don't have to. And like when my last year, when I was teaching in another county at a job that I loved, the job that I had for 3 years that I loved, but I had to leave because my youngest daughter had a health emergency and she had to come out of school. She had to be homeschooled and she was only 11 and she couldn't stay at home by herself. So I had to stay at home with her. So that was like a medical emergency. They did let me out of my contract then. I asked out in the middle of the school year. They did let me out, but I still broke contract, but with their permission. So they didn't take my certificate, but it's still on my record. So I've already broken contract one time in the last 2 years. I don't wanna make a habit of that. So, and then some other people suggested, well, just go, go out on FMLA or go out on a medical, like a mental, like get your doctor to say that you know, can't help it for mental issues and things like that. Like, I could have probably checked myself into a mental hospital and then done that. Okay, but first of all, I don't have FMLA with this school yet because I haven't been there for a year. And second of all, even if I could take a short-term disability or anything like that, um, there's a lot of paperwork that you'd have to do, and I would not get paid. I would not lose my job necessarily, but I also would not have a paycheck. And the whole purpose of me doing this job is for the paycheck because there's no other reason why I'm working at this job anymore because it's that bad. It's just for the paycheck. So, yeah, I could have done that, but I'm out at the end of May. And so, if I can just hang in there until the end of May, then, I'm okay. And then the other, option is just to, drop it and walk away and never teach again. But I will say that the biggest reason why I don't wanna break contract and I don't wanna do any of that stuff is because um, I actually do have another job lined up for next school year. So before I tell you about that, I'm gonna go back and look at, some of the before I lose track of the, chats. So, let's see. "Hello from Northern Indiana," says Linda. Jean says, "Hello from Northeast Pennsylvania." Now Nancy says, "Waving hi from Washington State." And Jonice says, "I am on tour." Nice. And you still had a chance to come in and visit with us. That's so awesome. Alita says, "How wonderful. A new job. Forgot to say I'm in snowy Raymond, New Hampshire." Oh, no snow for us. Thank you. We're already back in the 70s. We're in full blown spring. And I'm so glad about that. Um, Sunny says, "Too many chiefs, not enough Indians." That's a lot of it, but it's really that the chiefs are just not on the same page, and none of them really want to take a stand with kids, but they don't have a problem taking a stand with teachers for sure. So, Janet says, "Hi from Southeast Pennsylvania." Barbara says, "Huge lack of leadership in the chain of command in that school. Not fair to you or to the kids." Yeah, it's just yeah, there's some personality conflicts too. And, I think there's maybe some, just personality conflicts. Let's just leave it at that. And so, Barbara says, "Good for you for standing up and speaking up for yourself." I did that, but it just didn't really help me. It just made me like lose my cool. And I feel like I failed. I feel like they beat me by me having to leave and go. Cause if I had not left that day, like at that morning, if I had not left, I would have probably started to cuss out my bosses and then I would have really gotten in trouble. And so, I felt like the best option for me at that time was just to leave that day. Um, so Janet says, "Take the whole administration out and buy them a beer." I know, right? Then they'd probably try to get me for some kind of moral interpretitude or some bullshit. I don't know. You just don't ever know. Janet says, "That's ridiculous the way they treated you." Sound like really Mad Max says, "Sound like you shouldn't be working there if you have anxiety." Oh, yeah. Well, anxiety just kind of comes along. First of all, it comes along with grief. And second of all, it comes along with education now. But I'm managing. Now I've just started taking some medication for anxiety, as a matter of fact, but I didn't have it with me that morning because I didn't think I was going to need it. And lo and behold, I did. So Janet says, oh, already read that one. Really Mad Max says, "I don't agree with that. You should be able to leave whenever you want." Yeah, I totally agree with that, but that's the way that the education system works. And so unfortunately, the whole state is that way. And so it's just a state thing. Where's your teachers union? So Janet, we don't have a teachers union. We are a right to work state. I guess that's what it's called. In Georgia, we are not allowed to have teachers unions or any kind of unions. So I do have an education association. I'm a member of the Professional Association of Georgia Educators. So if I were to get in trouble, like legally, I would have representation because I pay for that. But this was not really like a getting in trouble kind of a thing. This was just like I had had enough, and I took the day off. So, and then really Mad Max says, "What does leaving have to do with your license? Pulling a license should be for doing something unethical." Right. So breach of contract, which is illegal, is considered unethical. And so that's where the licensing comes in. Try roofing in the summer. I did that. You'll find your situation paradise by comparison, right? Yeah. In the summer in Georgia, I'm 50 and overweight, and I do not want to try to get on a roof. So I'm gonna leave that to the men. Not trying to be sexist or anything, but like that's just not for me. So personality conflicts equals women can't get along. It's some men too. Like it really is some men too. So we have men, we have a mix, like a good diverse mix between of races and genders and our and um what is it? Like the different subjects, across the board for our admins. So it's not like specifically men, specifically women, or any other kind of issue like that. It's I think it's just the area that we're in. It's like you gotta if you have really good test scores and you have really good student body and you have really good, like your school ranks really high or whatever, you can attract. Oh, and if you pay really high salaries, you can attract, you can be selective on who you're going to choose for your teachers and for your administrators. So we're not in that kind of a situation. And so, you know, I don't know where the administrators came from, but most of them are from the local area. And so sometimes I wonder, I could be wrong. Sometimes I wonder if teachers who just can't, who don't like it in the classroom or who are not in the classroom, that's why they decide to become administrators, because they're like, screw this, I'm not doing the classroom stuff anymore. I'm getting out. I'm going to do admin, which is pretty much what I'm about to do for my next job. And I'll tell you the details about that soon. But um, so just because they're an admin doesn't mean they're necessarily like wonderful and awesome with classroom management. I don't know that they were or not, but whew. Anyway, um, Barbara says they didn't beat you. You're smarter than they are. And then really Mad Max says teacher unions can only hold it off for so long. Yeah, and like I said, in Georgia there is no teachers union, so we just do what we do, and it's there's a lot of crap. I'm just saying there's a lot of crap. But when you've been teaching for 20 some years and you're 50 years old and this is what you're trained to do, it's really hard to pivot, and try to do another career. You're just like, you just hang in there and just get it done. I'm 10 years from retirement, full retirement. I could retire anytime after this, but I won't be able to bring in a check until I'm 60. So, if I want to get full retirement, I have to work until I'm 60. So 10 more years. My sister only has 7 more years to work and then she can retire. So we're just basically like short timers, I guess, but oof. So we're hanging in there one day at a time. But anyway, okay. So I will tell you about my job that's coming up next. I've told you guys this before, way back, that I wanted to do like a academic coaching job, which is it's a job that is in some schools where you help other teachers. You mentor other teachers, whether they be new teachers, whether they be teachers that are burned out, that are like, I can't do this anymore and they need help, like getting motivated, or whether it's teachers who are on professional development plans, which means they have deficits in some area and they are on a training program to help them get better in whatever area that is, whether it be showing up to work on time, whether it be classroom management because their kids are all over the place and they need ways to like reel them in, or whether it be doing lesson plans, whatever it might be. And so I've really wanted to do academic coaching. And so there was some academic coaching jobs that never got filled this year that I was trying to get. And then I went to several weeks ago, I went to a job fair that was just in our county, and it was just for teachers who wanted to transfer from one school to another school within the county. And so before I went there, I wanted my boss, my supervisor, she's over the special ed department. I wanted her to know what my intentions were so that she wasn't taken by surprise, and just to let her know that, I'm not coming back to this school, but the reason why is because I'm trying to get out of the classroom and move up into more of an admin position. Not admin as in assistant principal or principal, because I don't want to do that, but admin just as in like middle management, I guess you could say, kind of like her position. So I sat down with her just to kind of talk about what my plans were, what my options were. And I was like, is there any way that I could do that here at this school? She's like, honestly, no. And it's not because I can't, it's because there isn't a position here. And I already kind of knew that, but I wanted to ask anyway. There's 4 academic coaching jobs at our school and they're all full and nobody's planning on leaving. So they're probably going to stay in those jobs for a while. And so I said, well, and she said, why don't you just do a job like mine? And I was like, well, are you leaving? I'm like, I can take your job. She's like, hell no, I'm not leaving. And I was like, "Okay, well, why are you asking me that?" And I said, "Plus, I don't think I am qualified to do your job." And she's like, "You are overqualified to do my job." She said, you've been teaching forever. You already know the special ed. I have a I have a specialist degree. I have a college degree in teacher leadership that I've never used, and a certification in teacher leadership. And I'm certified in half of the curriculum: history, PE, special ed, math. So she was like, "Yeah, you are completely qualified for this job." And I was like, "Yeah, well, those jobs, they just don't come by very often because there's only one, for every department at each school." And so I was like, "Well, maybe one day when you leave." I said, "But I can't stick around. Like, I can't." Even my principal said, "Yeah, there's something for you here. There is a leadership position for you here. You just stick around, and then when something opens up, we'll be funneling you right in." He chose me to be on the leadership team this year, so I know that he's has that plan for me. I can't wait though. I can't teach anymore, especially at that school. And so basically that's what I told her. And she's like, "Well, right next door at the middle school that feeds into our high school," she said, the lady who is the head of the special ed department over there, basically my boss, my supervisor's job at the middle school next door. She said, "Well, she's leaving. She's going, I don't know what she's doing, but she's been there for 5 years, and she's already, said that she was gonna leave at the end of this year, and she won't be coming back, so they got to fill that job." And I was like, "Really?" I said, "I don't know if I could do that job. I don't even know if I'd want to." And she was like, "Yeah, you do. It's not teaching. It's not a teaching job." So it's the head of the special ed department, and basically, I would just be the boss of all the other special ed teachers. So you do scheduling for the teachers, you do scheduling for the students, for the special ed students, you attend all the meetings for the paperwork, IEP meetings, all that stuff for all the special ed students, but you don't have to teach in a classroom. You're just the supervisor of all the other teachers. You might have to cover down if there's an absent teacher, or you might have to um, teach a class here or there every once in a while if you have like a gap. But otherwise, it is a non-teaching position, and it's just supervising. And lots of paperwork, lots of meetings, lots of talking to parents, and putting out those little fires and stuff. So I could totally do that. And so I was like, "Well, I don't know, I'll give it a try." And so I told her that I was interested. She knows the people really well. She works pretty closely with them. So she sent an email to the principal and to the assistant principal and anybody else who would listen, and said, "Hey, you want to interview this person for this position. I think she would be awesome at it." And then so I went to they said, "Okay, great. We'll be at the job fair next Saturday. Please tell her to come find us." So I made my resume. I went and found them. And as soon as I found them, they were like, "Please sit down. Please. We want to talk to you." They had already talked to my boss. She had given me glowing recommendations. And so and when I walked in to the job fair, the person who opened the door for me was my principal. So when I went in and he was like, "Hello." "Oh, hey, come in." So at that point, he kinda knew that I was looking, to transfer. And so they basically said, "Yeah, well, we gotta get your principal's permission for you to transfer," which I think is bullcrap, because I'm not trying to change jobs in the middle of the school year. I'm trying to go at the end of the school year, but he has to give his permission for me to transfer from one school to another. She's like, "As long as he gives his permission, then, we'll go ahead and set it up, and you can arrange to start working next school year." And so she talked to him. He did agree, because he knew that if he didn't agree to let me transfer, I would just not sign my contract and quit. Not at the, I would just not return at the end of the school year. Contracts come out March 7th. We have 10 days to sign them. So if he didn't agree to the transfer, I would have just not signed my contract, and I would have just been like a free agent. And then I would have went right back over there and applied as a new hire, and then she could have hired me. So it was going to happen anyway. So he's smart enough to know that. So he agreed to the transfer. And so I just have to be approved by the school board next month whenever they meet, which that's just a matter of, it's just a matter of paperwork or whatever. And so, which will be fine. And then that's it. So I will actually be moving. I won't be moving houses. I will be moving jobs to another building, to the middle school where I teach, where at the high school now. It's actually closer to my house. I'll have my own office, a whole classroom for an office. And it's a really busy job. It's hard work. It's a lot. It's a lot of work, but no teaching, no lesson plans. And it's just a change of pace. And so I'm hoping that that's going to be good for me. It's a little bit of a raise too, not a huge raise, a couple $1,000 a year raise, but I'll still be in the same county. I'll still have my same benefits, all my retirement, all that stuff, which is the main reason why when I had my meltdown, I did not want to go ahead and just quit or take a leave of absence or any of that stuff because I've already got my job lined up for next year. I don't want to mess that up. So when my contract comes out next week, it will say the position for the new job that I will sign rather than the job that I'm on now. So I still have to, finish out the school year, the end of May or the first couple of days in June, whenever that is, right after Memorial Day. So I still have to hang in there until the end of this school year, but we're on the downhill slope and I do have my job lined up for next year and it could not have worked out any better. That's exactly what I was looking for. I wanted to help teachers. I wanted to guide teachers, and I did not want to really teach in the classroom. So God worked it out for me. And maybe that's why he put me through this trial and tribulation. I don't know. But I do have greener pastures that I'm heading towards. I just got to stick it out until the end of this school year. And so that's my job update. Let's see. Uh, Barbara says nothing to do with this discussion, but I love the color of your hair. What? This is my natural color, guys. This is it. I've grown it out. I'm trying to grow it out, and I try to grow out the length. I'm trying to get it a little longer. I don't know if you can see, but it's growing out a little. I'm going to try to do a little different style, but I'm not coloring it anymore. So this is my natural. This is it. So thank you for that. The job possibility sounds good. You already know what not to do. Right. Exactly. And then Janet says, talking to parents. Ooh, that could be trouble. Their kids never do anything wrong. Right. Right. But a lot of times I talk to parents anyway. And I will tell you what, I used to work for Amazon customer service for a while. And I was worked from home on the phone. People don't call Amazon customer service unless they are pissed. And so I learned the art of de-escalation. It was tough, but I learned a lot of skills on that job on how to de-escalate. And I'm pretty smart. So I've learned how to figure out how to say things to make the parent understand that we are on the same team. And, we all want the same thing, which is for their child to be successful. And we want them to learn good life skills. And, I know how to word it in a way to where everybody feels like they're getting what they want. You want to let the parent feel like you're on their side and that you're giving them what they want. And I hate to say this, but it's a lot like dealing with toddlers, or with young children. You give them 2 or 3 options of things and let them choose, but all 3 options are already acceptable to you. So it doesn't matter what they pick, it's going to be something that you're okay with. So same thing with that, with the parents. You just offer them 2 options or however many options you can come up with that are acceptable either way and let them choose between them. Same thing with the students. And then they feel like, oh, good. They let us pick our schedule or they let us pick our teacher or they let us design our IEP accommodation, whatever you might want to call it. But like within reason and within the law, of course, you just make people think that you're letting them decide what happens, knowing that regardless of what they pick, it's going to be, something that's acceptable and everybody wins. So good for you. Good news. Retiring next month. Oh, Tim, nice. That would be nice. Yeah, I still got a little ways to go before I can retire. So we'll see. All right. So I've already talked for almost 40 minutes. I haven't even talked about grief. I haven't talked about none of that stuff. I've just updated you guys about my job because I haven't done a live session in forever. But I did want to talk about, since the topic is about dreams, I've had several people ask me for some different topics, and so I just picked one. And the reason why I picked dreams is because I've had a couple recently. And I've heard a lot of people talk about dreams, dreaming of your spouse after they've died, and how that works. And so I just wanted to, I don't have any research about it. I just wanted to share um, some experiences that I've had and just see if anybody else has had some, and just give, you can hear it, you can listen, you can hear, you can add to the chat if you're here live, you can add to the comments below if you're watching this on a recording, and just, have you ever dreamed about your spouse? And if so, was it a good thing? Was it a bad thing? Did it make you sad? Did it make you happy? What kind of things happen? I've heard, several times when people are in fresh grief, especially, they're like, "Oh, I can't I hope that I can dream about my spouse. I can't wait until I dream about it." Or "I dreamed about him and it was so awesome," because you're dreaming, so you kinda don't realize that you're dreaming. And so when they come to you in their dreams, you feel like they're there. It's like a little moment where you get to spend with your spouse again that you've lost, and it can seem so real in that dream because you don't really realize it's a dream. So it's like a little nice, I don't know, like a behind the scenes, like you get to just spend a few moments with your loved one, and, for a moment, you kinda forget that they're gone. And so a lot of times people are so happy when they dream about their spouse because, you know, it's like they got to visit with them. It's almost as real as it can get at that moment, and so that's kinda nice. I never really had that too much. I don't know why. I'd had several dreams, about him, but it was never like, um it was never like I don't know, I can't explain it. It was never like a happy moment where I just got to visit with him. It was always like I was working out some kinda dilemma in my brain, and he would come to visit, and it would be part of the dilemma or part of the issue. And so, mostly it happened a lot when I first started dating, and then when I first got with JP and right after we got married, I had several dreams, and I guess it was guilt. I guess it was, when you first start dating, a lot of times you feel guilt, like you're cheating on your spouse or something, and it's tough to get past that. And so I think I was trying to work out those guilty feelings, and was working them out in my dream. So I can remember specifically one time that was right after I got married, and I was walking down the street, and Dewey shows up and he's like, "Guess what? I'm back. I'm home," and I'm like, "Hold on a minute." And, in my dream, I couldn't really work out, like, where he had been. It's kinda like I sorta knew he had died, but then in your dream, unrealistic things are possible, like you can fly or people can come back from the dead or, like, stuff can happen that can't normally happen in real life, and you don't really even question it. You just like, "Okay, he's back," or, "Okay, I'm flying," or whatever, like, you just take that at face value. So he's walking down the sidewalk, he's like, "I'm back," "I know I've been gone for a while, but hey, daddy's home." So so he was like, "Yep, let's go back. Let's take me back home, and then I wanna see the kids, and then I wanna make up for some lost time." And in my mind, I was um, like, "I have a husband at home, and when I bring him home, when I bring Dewey home, JP's gonna be there, and what in the world am I going to tell him? Like, what am I gonna tell JP about him being home, and what am I gonna tell Dewey about JP being there?" And so in my mind, I'm, like, freaking out in the dream about what in the world am I gonna tell both of my husbands about the other one. And so, it was quite the dilemma. So, anyway, and I knew in my mind that, I had to tell Dewey that I couldn't take him home, that I had a husband and that I had moved forward, and, that this is my life now. And so when I woke up, it was kinda like, "Oh, that was a tough one. That was a real tough one." So, yeah, but that was right after I got married. So it's been a while, but I do remember that one pretty vividly. And I know that, like I said, a lot of people have dreamed about their spouse visiting. Some people have had some nightmares, and I think that might deal with, the manner of death of your spouse, if it was particularly, traumatic of an experience, or if it was, particularly like an accident or a surprise, something very unexpected, or if it was something that they might have witnessed. Those kind of things, I'm sure, can work themselves out through your thoughts and in your mind when you're dreaming. And so I think sometimes people experience, nightmares and bad dreams where they're trying to work through the trauma and their issues that they are dealing with when you're awake. Because, your mind never really shuts off. At least mine doesn't. And so when you're sleeping, um, It's the time when your brain works through problems. That's why, I don't know a whole lot about dreams. I just know a little tiny bit, but that's one of the reasons why when infants and toddlers are going through milestones, like they're learning how to walk, or they're learning how to roll over, or they're learning how to crawl, um, or potty train, things like that, that a lot of times they will, even if they were sleeping through the night before, suddenly they'll start waking up a couple times a night and crying and waking you up. And you're like, what is going on? They were sleeping through the night. Now they're not. It's because their brains are working overtime on, those new developments. And sometimes they wake up and they're like, hey, I want to get like, I need to practice this new skill. And so they're kind of working through, or else the dreams that they're having about it will wake them up. And so a lot of times that's what happens. So I think that happens too with us when we're in grief. We're working out our problems, we're working out our issues, we're working out our confusions and our thoughts. And we're also just kind of going through grief in general. And so we're not able to really sleep as soundly as we would otherwise. And so between those two things, sleep is a big Sleep is a big issue, especially when we're grieving. Like, a lot of times people who are struggling with grief, they struggle with being able to sleep. And, I think sometimes people just don't want to go to sleep because they are afraid that they will dream about some things that they don't wanna dream about. So, lots of different issues with dreams. Um, and then let's see, no dreams. Tim says, "No dreams of spouse for the first year, just had a couple." Barbara says, "I've had 3 dreams, all interesting and made sense." That's pretty cool that they made sense. I mean, yeah, that was uh, sometimes, we can't even explain our dreams because 'cause they're so confusing. Sheila says, "Don't know if I've had a dream about my husband, but I have felt his presence on a number of occasions." So, and I'm sure that's another, like another topic altogether is, if you really feel them, do you ever feel them kind of speaking to you or giving you signals, or, just something, like kind of giving you messages and things like that. So there's been some times when some stuff come on the radio and I'm like, uh-huh, yep, I hear you. Um, Suzanne says, "It's been over 2 years, but I've never had a dream, still hoping for one." So, Suzanne, hopefully you will have one, and you probably have had one, just didn't, realize it, because a lot of times we don't remember our dreams unless we wake up right in the middle of them or right as they're concluding. Because you have lots of dreams, but you don't remember very many of them. So, it all depends on how fast you wake up during that dream if you remember it. Peg says, "Hello, all. I will have to watch the recording. Can't wait to hear about the new job." Oh yeah, I went all around about the new job. So Peg, you'll have to go back and watch because I gave all the good juicy details. Suzanne says, "My daughter had a lot of dreams of her father, but all nightmares. That's really sad." Well, and that's probably her working through her grief. It's like her brain is not turned off even when she's asleep. So hopefully she will be able to kind of work through those feelings and those emotions and those thoughts. And she might need to talk to somebody about that. Go to some therapy about that too. So Gigi says, "Just got here. Sorry I missed it all, but that's okay. It's going to be recorded, so you'll be able to go back and watch it whenever you want to." Peg says, "Love the dreams with my mate in them." Yeah. So it is kind of cool to be able to visit with them sometimes, right? And so the last time that I had some strange dreams that has to do with grief or whatever, it was a couple weeks ago. And they weren't specifically about Dewey, but the first dream was that JP had died. And so, and I don't know how he died in the dream. Like, I just know that the dream started and in my mind, I was like, wow, my husband just died. And all I kept thinking was, like, how could this happen to me twice, in 5 years? I can remember just thinking that, like, I've gotta go through this all over again, like, it just happened to me a few years ago, and then it's happened to me again, and now, like, all the progress that I've made and trying to get my life back on track and all these things and all these emotions that I've worked through and all this stuff, like, I felt like I had just gone right back to square one, and I was gonna have to start over, and in some ways, it may have been, I don't wanna say easier, but like, okay, well, I kinda know what to expect now at least because 'cause I've been down this road, but at the same time, I knew exactly what I was in for because I've just been through it, and for that reason, it was so depressing, and, I was like, I remember in my mind thinking, "I can't go through this again. I can't do this again, not this soon." Like, I cannot believe I'm not even 50 years old and I've, I've been widowed twice. So this is my dream, was what I kept thinking. And I can remember just being so depressed because it's almost like I skipped through the numbness and the denial and all that, because I already been through that with Dewey. And I just went straight to the fresh, raw grief, because I knew exactly what I was, in for. And I knew how horrible it was going to be. And it was just, it was tough. So it was just like a little piece of a dream. And then shortly after that, I had another dream in the same night, like just like kind of woke up and then went back to sleep. And then the next dream, like a few minutes later, was that I died. And and I but I was in a casket, and I was getting lowered down into my hole. And I was thinking about JP and my kids, standing up there watching my casket get lowered down into the hole, and I'm thinking, how are they gonna manage, and I'm not to make this sound like I'm over important, but like, how are they gonna manage without me? Like, my kids mostly was, how are my kids gonna deal with, they've already lost their dad, now they've lost their mom, and how in the world are they gonna do this? And then I went straight to JP and thought, gosh, his wife died in 2017, 2019. Dewey died in 2017. Anyway, his wife died in 2019, and I kept thinking about him having to be widowed twice in such a short period of time, and how he was going to be dealing with it and all that stuff. And then my last thought was, why am I still conscious? Like, I'm in this black coffin and I'm being lowered into this box and nobody can hear me or see me. And am I just going to sit in this black box forever? Like, aren't I supposed to be in heaven right now or something? And even if I'm dead, why am I able to still think? And like, am I going to be trapped in this box forever? So nothing to do with grief, but like, that was a nightmare. So I was so glad when I woke up from that part of the dream. And so I don't know why I had both of those dreams back to back, but I do. And I've shared with you guys a little bit about how when you're widowed and you remarry, you have to know that, you know, when anybody gets married, if you live long enough and you don't get divorced, one of you is going to be widowed at some point. That's what the definition of a successful marriage is till death do you part. You just don't know which person's going to be the death part and which one's going to be the left behind part. And so, it's like, I know that at some point between me and JP, one of us is going to be widowed again. And I have to fight back the fear. Sometimes I have like a fear or an anxiety about him dying, and like, how, because I already know how terrible it is and how possible it is and how easy it can happen and how real it can be. But if before you lose your spouse, and the thought of them maybe dying one day is so abstract, it's like the thought of yourself dying one day is so abstract. You just kind of push it out of your mind. You're like, yeah, one day, but not today. So let's just move on. So you kind of think of that in an abstract way with your spouse until they actually die. And then you realize, wow, that's real. Like, that really could happen, and it really did happen. And so that reality is always like present in my mind. And so sometimes I get a little bit like, I have a little bit of a fear or anxiety kind of trickle in a little, for me to try to think about, what's going to happen down the road. And because we ain't, no spring chickens. So, we're knocking on the door of like retirement in a few years and how that's going to go. And I just like, whew, it's tough to think about. So try not to, because I'm trying to just um, appreciate every day that I have with him. But it's almost like when Dewey was sick and dying and I knew he was going to die, I didn't know exactly when, but I knew it was coming because he was terminal. I mean, technically, we're all terminal. And so sometimes I look at JP and I'm like, wow, he's terminal too. Like, he's going to die one day. I just don't know when. But he's not sick. He's not sick. He's not dying. Hypothetically, he is, right? Like, because we all are. So that's what I'm trying to reconcile in my brain, is that um like, he is going to die one day. And unless I die before him, I don't know when that day is going to be. And so every single day that we have with our loved ones, whether it be our spouse or our family, our friends, our kids, our siblings, whoever it might be, they're all numbered. And you don't feel that as acutely as until you become widowed. And then that reality comes really raw and real. And so try not to like dwell on that too much, but it is what it is, right? All right. So, oh, Peg says second time around is horrid. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to, and I am so sorry for anybody that deals with it once, but then more than once, that's a tough one. That's really tough. Um, let's see. Going back to see if I missed any other chats. I have dreams too, says Alita. Some are like real life, others, my family is all together. Donnie was there, but I'm the only one who knows. Since my only sister unexpectedly passed New Year's Eve, she's been in, I'm assuming she means she's been in some dreams. Oh, she's been in a couple, but it was just the three of us talking. Happy dreams. Okay, that's always good. I think it's just because we miss our loved ones so much. We want to see them so bad. We create their memory, and so we make a new memory with them. Sue says it's been 14 months for me, and the only dreams I've had are that he's been away on a trip and comes home to business as usual. So I'm not sad in my dream, but I'm sad when I wake up. Yeah, that's mostly the dreams that I've had. It's like it wasn't really like he died. It's just like he went on a long trip, and I sort of forgot that he was coming back. And so he just shows up and he's like, I'm back. I'm like, hey, wait a minute, where have you been? And like, what have I been doing this whole time? It's kind of like they're just jumping back into life as usual. And you sort of forgot that they were even gone until they came back, and the funny thing is when Dewey was alive, he was, he's in the military. So he went on trainings and like once a year he went on a 30-day training, and then he went to these schools where he had to go be gone for months at a time. He was deployed one time, so he was gone for 9 months. So that would have been a normal thing, when he was alive, is for him to go away for the military and come back from a long trip. And so that would have been totally normal for him to do that. And so sometimes in the dream, it's almost like he's just been deployed for a while and he just came back. And so, can we meet your new husband, says Pamela. He has popped in a couple of times. And he's the guy that's on the picture on the, like if you go to the Facebook group, at the top of the Facebook group, and I think at the top of the YouTube channel, he's the one that's in the picture with me. That's JP. And so he's the one with the white beard. And, so he's kind of shy. So maybe have him come on sometime. And he says he will pop in, but he doesn't want to be like interviewed or anything because he's just real, I don't know, he's just real shy. He's camera shy, and he likes to be the guy behind the scenes. He's a hardworking man, and he likes to get all the stuff done in the background. So, but, every once in a while he pops in. He's upstairs doing work stuff right now. He's getting ready for his work back tomorrow. He's got a lot of paperwork to do. So, anyway, if you want to see pictures of him, yep, he's the one that's our faces are together. That's JP actually. So, yeah, that's him. Opposites attract. Sometimes, I guess, which is funny because JP and Dewey were complete opposites. Dewey was he would have been right up in here on this camera. He probably would have tried to take over and run the thing. He was the life of the party. He wanted to be in the spotlight all the time. When he walked into a room, everybody looked because he just commanded that attention. He wasn't fat, but he was a big, like big presence. He was a big guy, he had real broad shoulders, and he just stood up and he was just like, he was real intimidating, and he was a drill sergeant in the military. So he was just like, and JP is just, he's smaller, and he's more slightly built, and he's very soft spoken, and he's very timid, and he's kind of shy and kind of quiet. And so it's funny how they're really nothing alike. They're both really wonderful, nice men, but they were not really at all alike personality wise or physical wise. It's kind of funny. So Jean says, I had a dream about my husband. I was laying in bed sleeping, and his head was over my left shoulder, and I kept asking him if he was real, and was he really here? And he said, yes, it's me. It's really me. And so, who knows if dreams have any kind of like spiritual connection? I have no idea. I'm sure we can all have our different opinions about it. there's no way for us to know if it's real or not. So who knows if they are able to, like, if our conscience is um, let down enough when we're asleep that we are more able to, like, connect with people on a spiritual level when we're sleeping. I don't know, but I'm sure anything's possible. So maybe when we die, we'll find out. I don't, I really don't know, but it's interesting. Dreams are really interesting. Like, there's people who that's all they do, is interpret dreams. And so, um, when you have dreams about being naked or something, it just means that you're feeling insecure about something coming up in your life or whatever. So I'd be interested in having some of those dreams um, analyzed, but I think most of my dreams is pretty obvious what I'm grappling with, when I have dreams about certain things. So, all right. Well, I've been jabbing for an hour, and I am so glad that we've had so many people be able to come in and chat with us. And I'm sorry that I have not been able to do as many live sessions, but it's just what it is. This summer we're gonna be doing all kinds of stuff this summer because I don't have to work for 8 weeks. So that'll be awesome. And Gene says, still can't get out of my head that he's been gone since September 2019. Yeah, sometimes it seems like it's so weird that it seems like it just happened just recently. And then on the other hand, you can turn right around and say, wow, it feels like it's been forever. It's hard to believe that something can seem like it was so recent and so far away at the same time, but it just seems it's that way. Because Dewey's been gone since 2017. I'm like, dang, that's 5 years. That's 5.5 years actually that he's been gone. So, like, in June, it'll be 6 years, and it just does not seem like 6 years. And I think about how much has happened with the kids and everything and how long they've been without their dad. And then JP's wife died in 2019. And so, yeah, he's in April, in 2 more months, it'll be the 4-year anniversary of her death. And, like, when I met him, he had just lost her a few months before that. And so I've basically been with him almost through his whole grief journey, minus a few months. And now I'm like, wow. So even his grief journey is coming up on 4 years, which that, just seems like a long time. So although I never knew her, I did not know him when they were together, but I met him shortly after that. And so we've kind of been together since, like, fresh in his grief journey. Like, we got together way early for him. If y'all follow the story, he was only 7 weeks out when we met. So, yeah, things move really fast, but you know what? It's fine. We had a lot of people warning us and giving us all kinds of, like, be careful, watch what you're doing. But we just kind of knew that we were meant for each other. And, so we've been married 3 years now, going on 4 in November. So, and we've had our ups and downs, and blending family's been difficult, but we've been there for each other. And so it's been really nice to have him. And I think I've helped him too through some of his grief journey as well. So, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I'm going to put this up on the recording on YouTube so that if you missed it live, you can watch it once it uploads. And then try not to go. I used to go once every week, with at least a recorded video or whatever, but if I can go every week, it's great. If not, I try not to go more than 2 weeks in between videos because I don't want things to go, get too low. And I want just everybody to know that I'm still here. I just can't always make it in every single week. So I still have a few things up my sleeve. My website is still messed up and because I'm transferring it over to another server again. So if you try to go to the website and nothing's up there, don't be surprised. It's a work in progress. But the Facebook group is up. It's always there. So join our Facebook group if you want. The Pivot course is still open and available. So that's on a link up there, www.griefpivotcourse.com. So if you're still interested in that, it's still up and available. And that's all I can think of right now. So Tim says, nice to see you again. Yes, all of you who have joined us today, thank you so much. It's so good to see you again too, especially live. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell so that you'll be alerted every time there's a new video, and join the Facebook group. And we will see you somewhere in one of those places between now and next time we have a video. So bye. See you next time.